My name is Lydia Quinn, and the last time my mother spoke to me, her words cut deeper than any insult could. She said them softly, almost tenderly, like she was doing me a favor. Flights cost $2,010 each, she said, stirring her tea like this was just another Tuesday. If you can't manage it, sweetheart, maybe you should stay back this time. I remember standing in her pristine kitchen. White marble counters, flowers arranged like a showroom, and realizing something awful. This wasn't about money, it was about control. The family trip to Santorini was her masterpiece, a picture-perfect vacation designed for social media. My siblings, Ava, Miles, and Ethan, had already posted their matching luggage sets in the group chat, complete with emojis and mom's approval. And me? I was just the nurse daughter. The practical one. The one who worked double shifts to pay rent. You understand, don't you? She said. We can't cover your expenses this time. It's only fair everyone pays their share. Fair. That word sat heavy in my throat. Fair had never existed in our family. Not when I covered Ava's overdue credit card bill. Or when I loaned Miles money for his wedding that he never paid back. But I nodded anyway. Because that's what I'd always done. 3 days later, while I was on call at the hospital, I saw the photos online. Mom in her wide-brimmed hat, holding a glass of champagne, captioned, "Family means everything Pi Santorini sunsets, fun blessed." The comments were full of praise. Perfect family. You all look so happy. And in every photo, I wasn't there. Not even a mention. I tried to ignore it, to remind myself that peace was better than proximity. But then, 2 days later, I got an alert on my phone. Transaction approved. Quinn Travel Agency. What 8/3/24. At first, I thought it was fraud. Someone had hacked my card. But when I called the agency, they told me the booking had been made by Patricia Quinn. My mother. She had used my credit card to pay for the trip I'd been excluded from. I sat on my apartment floor, phone still in my hand, shaking. The woman who raised me, who taught me about honesty and pride, had just robbed me in broad daylight. And smiled for the camera while doing it. I thought about calling her, screaming, demanding answers. But instead, I opened my laptop. I wasn't going to beg for explanations anymore. I was going to build one. A case. Every receipt. Every message. Every accidental withdrawal she'd ever made. I was done being the quiet daughter. This time, my silence would end in fire. And when the truth finally surfaced, it wouldn't just clear my name. It would destroy the perfect family image my mother worshipped more than love itself. This wasn't revenge yet. It was only the beginning of justice. The next morning, I woke up to 20 unread messages in the family group chat. Photos of blue skies, white rooftops, and wine glasses clinking over dinner. Ava's caption ready, "Best trip ever, couldn't have done it without Mom." I stared at the screen, heart pounding. My 8/3/24, the amount I didn't even authorize, had bought their best trip ever. My phone buzzed again. It was Mom. "Lydia, I saw your missed calls. Please don't overreact. We'll talk when we're home, okay?" Overreact. That word hit me like a slap. I wasn't overreacting. I was surviving. I'd worked night shifts for months to build an emergency fund, saving every dollar to finally take time off. And now, that savings was gone, poured into luxury suites and yacht rides I never saw. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my mother smiling for strangers online. She had stolen from me not out of need, but entitlement. So, I began documenting everything. Bank statements, transfer screenshots, old text messages where she'd promised, "I'll pay you back, sweetheart." The total I calculated, across 4 years, wasn't just 8/3/24. It was 19,780. Money for Ava's emergency car payment. Miles's honeymoon deposit. Dad's unexpected tax bill. And Mom's credit card glitch, which turned out to be multiple spa charges. By morning, I had a spreadsheet so detailed it could have been used in a courtroom. Still, part of me wanted to believe she didn't mean it. That maybe she'd panicked. Or intended to tell me. That illusion shattered when I got a message from Miles later that afternoon. "Heard you're upset about the charges. Mom said you offered to help." Don't make a big deal of it. It's embarrassing. Offered. That was the lie now. They weren't just covering for her. They were gaslighting me. Turning theft into generosity. I replied simply, "Tell Mom I'm not upset. I'm documenting." An hour later, she called. Her voice was calm, almost rehearsed. "Honey, I was going to transfer it back after the trip. You know how difficult banking is overseas." I listened quietly. "You didn't even ask," I said finally. "You didn't even tell me." Her tone shifted, sharp now, defensive. "Lydia, family helps family. Don't act like a stranger. You've always been dramatic about money." And there it was. The script I knew too well. Manipulation disguised as love. I ended the call mid-sentence and blocked her number. That night, I drove to the hospital even though it wasn't my shift. I needed the quiet. The sterile air of the corridors. The steady rhythm of heart monitors. Dr. Rowan, my supervisor, saw me at the nurse's station. "You look like you're carrying the world," he said. "Maybe I am," I whispered. He poured me coffee and said something that stuck with me. "Some people drain you because they know you'll refill yourself. And them. Stop being their battery." That night, I decided something life-changing. I would bill my family. Formally, legally, and publicly. Every dollar. Every favor. Every lie. And when they tried to spin their story, I'd already have mine written, signed, and sealed in evidence. They wanted to play family. Then they'd learn that love doesn't excuse theft. And blood doesn't erase boundaries. Next came the part they never expected, where the victim finally sent the invoice. A week passed. No apology. No refund. Not even a word. Meanwhile, my mother's social media flooded with photos. The Amalfi Coast, private villas, silk dresses under golden light. She had even captioned one post. "Family is everything." Each word burned like acid in my chest. So, I printed every single transaction, stapled them neatly, and attached a letter titled IMVOIC of RIMBURCMNT, LYDIA ROBU total due to 19/7/80 payment deadline 14 days no drama. No rage, just business. I mailed it to her home address. Certified delivery. Then I waited. By the third day, I got a call. Not from her. But from Ava, my sister. Her tone was venom wrapped in fake sweetness. "Lydia, what's this about an invoice? Are you serious right now? You're making Mom cry." "Good," I said flatly. Maybe now she'll understand how I felt. "You're embarrassing us." "We're family." "Family doesn't steal." I interrupted. There was a long pause. Then she hissed. "You've always been jealous." Jealous. The word that narcissists love. The one they use when you stop tolerating abuse. "You're right," I said coldly. "Jealous that you can sleep at night after lying and taking what isn't yours." And I hung up. That night, I emailed the same invoice, this time seeking Miles and Dad. Subject line: formal notice of funds misappropriation. By morning, the family chat exploded. "Dad, you've lost your mind." "Mum, how could you do this to your own family?" "Ava, you're dead to me." "Miles, if you don't stop, we'll sue you for harassment." "Sue me. For asking for what's mine." That irony was almost poetic. But I didn't reply. I simply updated the invoice. Now titled, Revesid AMOUNTYTH Legal Fees. The 432 weeks later silence. Until one evening I got a letter, not from my family but from their lawyer. It said, "Our clients deny all allegations of financial misconduct and request that you cease contact." That was their mistake. Because the moment they put their denial in writing, I had proof of willful deceit. I forwarded everything. My evidence folder, their threats, the lawyer's letter. To Harper and Finch, a law firm where my friend Nora worked. She reviewed the case and called me back that night. "Lydia, this is solid. You have timestamps, statements, even text evidence of intent. We can move forward." "What happens next?" I asked quietly. "We file a civil claim. You won't just get your money back. You'll get damages." For the first time in years, I felt a spark of power. It wasn't revenge. It was reclamation. That night, I stood by my window and looked at the city lights. I whispered to myself, "You took from me without asking. Now, I'll take back what's mine." With interest. I deleted their contacts. Blocked them on every platform. But I didn't block the truth. Because truth, once unleashed, doesn't need permission. And when the summons arrived at their door 2 weeks later, signed and stamped by the court, their family is everything. Masks would finally crack. Next came the moment they'd never imagined. When their lies became evidence. And their vacation became a courtroom exhibit. The court date was set for May 17th. A day I'll never forget. I walked into that cold, echoing courthouse wearing a tailored black suit. No tears, no hesitation, just focus. My mother, father, sister, and brother-in-law sat across the aisle. Dressed to impress, faces twisted in quiet arrogance. Like they still believed money and manipulation could save them. But the moment the judge entered, that arrogance started to crack. The judge glanced through the documents, eyes narrowing slightly. Ms. Rowe, you're alleging financial deception by immediate family members in relation to a travel fund. Please explain. I stood, voice steady. Yes, Your Honor. I transferred $8,324 for my share of a family trip. They traveled without me, then refused reimbursement. Instead, I was insulted, threatened, and blocked. I have evidence of every transaction and message. The judge nodded, motioning to my lawyer, Nora. She stepped forward, her voice crisp as glass. Exhibit A: wire transfer receipts. Exhibit B: messages from the defendants confirming payment. Exhibit C: social media posts confirming they proceeded with the trip after excluding Ms. Rowe. Nora paused for a beat. Your Honor, this isn't just about money. It's about deliberate deceit and emotional harm. Across the courtroom, my mother whispered something to my father. He clenched his jaw, the same way he always did when the truth was too heavy to swallow. Then their attorney rose. Your Honor, my clients deny any intent to deceive. They claim Ms. Rowe voluntarily declined the trip and later regretted it. The judge looked directly at me. Is that true, Ms. Rowe? I smiled softly, not with anger, but clarity. No, Your Honor. I begged to come. They told me I couldn't afford it. Then they charged me after excluding me. I slid my phone forward. A printed screenshot. My mother's own message. Flights are $2,010 each. If you can't manage it, stay back. We'll handle the rest. Silence. Even the court clerk looked up. Nora continued calmly, Your Honor, they didn't just handle the rest. They used her money for their luxury expenses. Hotels, spas, and a private charter. The payment records match perfectly. The judge exhaled deeply, tapping his pen. So you're saying she paid for their trip? Without ever going? Nora nodded. Exactly. That was it. Their attorney's shoulders dropped. My mother's hand trembled as she whispered, This isn't happening. But it was. It was justice, slow, steady, undeniable. The judge set down the papers, his tone final. I'll be reviewing these documents in full, but based on the presented evidence, I'm inclined to consider restitution and additional damages for emotional distress. I didn't gloat. I didn't even smile. Because the truth didn't need decoration. After the session, outside the courthouse, my sister stormed up to me. Her voice cracked like static. How could you do this? You ruined our family's name. I turned to her, calm and cold. You ruined it when you put a price on love. She blinked, speechless. For once, she had no comeback. That night, I went home and sat in silence. My hands shook slightly, not from fear, but from release. Years of gaslighting, blame, and emotional debt had finally been repaid in the only currency that mattered, truth. When the court's written decision arrived 2 weeks later, it read, Plaintiff awarded the 24th 980 in damages and restitution. Almost poetic. They owed me 3 times what I'd lost. But the real victory wasn't the check. It was knowing that they couldn't buy back their reputation, no matter how expensive the apology. The morning after the court ruling, I woke up to silence. The kind that only comes after a storm. My phone was still buzzing from messages I hadn't read, and my email inbox had flooded with congratulations. Notes from coworkers who'd seen the case summary published online. I hadn't realized it yet, but my story, the family who robbed their own daughter for a vacation, had gone viral. A journalist from a local outlet had picked up the case from public records and titled the article, Nurse sues family for using her money on lavish trip. Wins in court. Within hours, it spread across social media like wildfire. The comments were brutal, raw, and honest. Imagine treating your own daughter like an ATM. She didn't lose a family. She lost parasites. This is the definition of poetic justice. People started tagging me, finding my old photos, and messaging me privately. Nurses, single moms, people who'd been manipulated by their families. I wasn't just Lydia Quinn anymore. I was a symbol for every person who'd been taken advantage of by the ones they trusted most. Meanwhile, my family's perfect image crumbled like sugar in the rain. Mom's Facebook posts, the ones that used to sparkle with fake family smiles, were now drowning in angry comments. Did you pay for that trip with your daughter's money too? You owe her more than cash. You owe her your dignity. Dad deleted his account. Ava tried to defend Mom online, but it backfired when people dug up screenshots of her mocking me in the group chat. The internet doesn't forget. Then the unthinkable happened. A producer from a national talk show reached out. They wanted me to come on and share my story not as gossip, but as a cautionary tale about financial and emotional abuse inside families. At first, I hesitated. I wasn't sure I wanted the world to see me cry on TV. But Nora, my lawyer, said something that changed my mind. You didn't start this to get revenge, Lydia. You started this to stop letting people like them win in silence. So, I said yes. The show aired on a Friday night. Under the bright studio lights, I told my story from the beginning. The manipulation, the betrayal, the courtroom. I didn't name my family, but the world already knew. By the time I walked off that stage, I wasn't shaking anymore. I felt lighter. When I got home that night, there was one message waiting in my inbox. It was from Mom. We saw the interview. You embarrassed us, Lydia. Was it worth it? I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. Every single second. And then I blocked her. Not in anger, but in peace. I realized something that night sometimes. Revenge isn't about making others hurt. It's about reclaiming your voice after years of being silenced. It's about walking away without guilt. The next day, my bank notified me that the restitution payment had gone through. Door 24th 980 deposited into my account. I used that money to book a trip, not to Santorini, but to Kyoto, Japan. Alone. No matching outfits, no family drama, just me, the cherry blossoms, and quiet mornings filled with peace. And while my mother once told me that money can't buy happiness, standing under that sea of pink petals, free at last, I realized that sometimes money can buy something even better: closure. Kyoto's morning air was soft and weightless, like a sigh after years of holding your breath. I stood on a narrow bridge overlooking the Kamo River, the cherry blossoms falling around me in slow motion, their pink petals catching sunlight like fragments of forgotten dreams. For the first time in years, I wasn't rushing anywhere. No phone buzzing with guilt, no voices demanding money or attention, just silence and the sound of water. It had been 6 months since the court verdict. 6 months since I'd blocked my family, paid off my debts, and started rebuilding the life they'd nearly destroyed. My name, Lydia Quinn, had become something of a quiet legend online. The story of the daughter who invoiced her family and won was still being shared, stitched into TikToks, narrated in podcasts, and written about in blogs. But fame wasn't what healed me. It was the stillness that came after. The peace I built one choice at a time. I'd moved into a sunlit apartment back in Portland, far from the house where manipulation was disguised as love. My plants thrived on the balcony, my easel stood near the window again, and I'd started painting the Japanese gardens from memory. All vivid greens, soft blues, and light pinks. Every morning, I made coffee in silence. No longer waking up to Mom's guilt, written messages, or Ava's fake apologies. I joined a local support group for people who had survived family financial abuse, and each week, more people walked in, eyes tired but hopeful. Sometimes they'd whisper to me, "You're the reason I left too." That was all the validation I ever needed. Then one afternoon, an email arrived, from Ava. "Lydia, I know I don't deserve to ask anything from you, but I wanted to say I'm sorry. Mom's been different since the truth came out. Dad barely leaves the house. I didn't realize how much I hurt you until I lost your trust. I'm starting therapy. I just wanted you to know that. I didn't reply right away. Instead, I printed the email and folded it neatly into my journal. Not as forgiveness, but as evidence of change. Maybe some stories didn't need revenge. Maybe the best ending was simply walking away and letting the truth do its work. The final piece came unexpectedly, in the form of a certified envelope. It was from my father's accounting firm. Inside was a letter from their ethics board, thanking me for bringing previous irregularities to light. My father had been permanently barred from handling family trusts. There was a postscript, handwritten in a shaky scrawl. Lydia, I'm not asking you to come back. I just want you to know, your mother and I paid back every cent. It was never about the money, was it, Dad? I read it twice. Then I smiled, folded it gently, and placed it beside the first check. The one that started it all, framed in a shadow box above my desk. Beneath it, I'd written a single quote in gold ink. Peace isn't given. It's built. That weekend, I hosted a small dinner at my apartment. Just 4 people. Nora, my lawyer. Elise, my brother's ex-wife who had once been brave enough to tell me the truth. Dr. Stevens, who'd helped me through the darkest nights. And Jonah, the man who never asked for my past, only promised to help me protect my future. As the evening sunlight filtered through the curtains, we raised our glasses. To freedom, Nora said. To boundaries, Elise added with a grin. Jonah smiled softly at me, and to never apologizing for choosing peace. We laughed, clinking glasses. The sound sharp and sweet, like a promise sealed in glass. Later, after they'd all gone, I stood on my balcony with the city lights shimmering beneath me. I thought about the girl who once cried over an empty bank account and a broken trust. The girl who believed that love meant giving until there was nothing left. That girl was gone. In her place stood a woman who had learned that sometimes revenge isn't loud. Sometimes it's the quiet decision to rise, rebuild, and live so peacefully that it unnerves the people who once thrived on your chaos. The breeze lifted my hair, carrying with it the faint scent of jasmine and rain. Somewhere below, a bus rumbled past, ordinary life continuing, indifferent and beautiful. I closed my eyes and whispered to no one in particular. Maybe to the universe, maybe to the version of myself who needed to hear it. You don't owe them your silence. You owe yourself your peace. And as I exhaled, the last weight of my family's control drifted off into the night. Because in the end, the most powerful revenge isn't destroying others. It's healing so completely, they no longer have power over your story. And that was my real victory.